There are increasing concerns that Bosnia could once again descend into conflict. Bosnian Serb leader Milord Dodik wants to break away from the national government. It shares power between the three main ethnic groups, the Serbs, the Croats and the Bosniaks. The peace agreement, which brought the Bosnian War to an end in the 1990s, was specifically designed to stop a return to such bloodshed. But Dodik wants to create a separate army, judiciary and tax system for the Serbs. Schmidt is the man who has to enforce the peace agreement. He's the High Representative for Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I've been speaking to him one-on-one. Schmidt, High Representative for Bosnia and Herzegovina, thank you for talking to TRT World. Are you worried that the situation that we have in Ukraine at the moment, the conflict there, could exacerbate the situation in Bosnia? Because we have a situation where the Bosnian Serb leader, depending on your point of view, he says he's neutral in that war. Some would say he is supporting Russia, but the leaders of the other two communities, the Bosniaks and the Croats, they are supporting Ukraine. So this is another reason maybe to exacerbate tension.
Yes, I do see, and hopefully Mr. Dodik as well understands, you cannot be neutral in an evident violation of human rights, like, by the way, at the conference in Antalya, the Turkish president has expressively pointed out that this is not acceptable. So I think this is, one should agree, everybody, including, by the way, the Republic of Serbia, has voted in this sense at the United Nations General Assembly. So did Bosnia-Herzegovina, and I would simply suggest to follow the decision of the international community and the estimation about the challenge of this offensive war.
Do you think there's any lessons for Bosnia to learn from what is happening in the Ukraine at the moment? Because there is maybe some parallels in that in Bosnia you have a government that generally wants to join the European Union and NATO, and Russia doesn't want it to. And you have a similar situation in Ukraine at the moment.
Yes, several countries in the region have went through. I remember just to Montenegro, and the challenge they had 5 years ago during the time of the referendum of becoming member of NATO, yes or no. They voted in favor, but there was a kind of putsch, or however you want to call it. So I would not take this for Bosnia-Herzegovina now, but it is a short time to make one's choice. Political choice means to be and to come into the safe haven of European integration, including on the security level. So this is what is on stake, and as I do not see any alternatives, excluding one would just have a shared support and be the buddy of Mr. Putin. This will not be possible, and I would not see that the people, of which ethnic identity ever they are in Bosnia-Herzegovina, all of the people, they just want to stay in peace and keep peace, and this needs a strong commitment embedded in the international cooperation, which I would see as European integration.
Now, you say the threat of conflict hasn't really gone away, and maybe in some respects is worse than it was last year. So what can be done about that? Why hasn't there been any movement, any solution to this issue?
So far there has been a lot of attempts to try to bring the side of the Serbska responsible people back to functionality of the country. There's just a sheer blockade. Nobody talks with the other, no decisions are made. So we have had some slight success, as for example, one could stop the tendency of splitting the army of Bosnia-Herzegovina in two different parts, which would be a dramatic wrong sign not respecting the Dayton Peace Agreement. This red line we could manage, that is not taken. And now we have to see a combination of a lot of talks, dialogue, but as well showing not only the carrots but the sticks, which, by the way, remain somehow in my toolbox, not only, which is that the executive powers which are given to the Dayton institutions, the High Representative, EUFOR Althea, has to be used at last resort if there is no way of coming a very constructive work in the state, Bosnia and Herzegovina.
How can you effectively carry out your duties to enforce the Dayton Agreement in the country, though, if one of the community's leaders doesn't recognize your authority, namely the Bosnian Serb leader Milord Dodik? How can you get cooperation from everybody for this?
If there would be an argument where I have to say, okay, this is interesting, this is right, would say, let's work on it. If not, and this is the case, as with the same intention, the Russian Federation has went to the United Nations Security Council and has not got a voting in favor of this position. There are two possibilities. The first is that one understands, and those people understanding that they are wrong, or that international community takes their competences, including mine, to bring this to reality. So I would prefer the first option. Together with European Union, US, and others, we are working to give this way for Bosnia and Herzegovina. But I'm here. I'm in international law. My position is very clear. I have indeed a lot of executive possibilities, and if necessary, I will use them.
You mentioned the second option being the international community's competences. What do you mean by that? Are you talking about more sanctions, maybe on the Bosnian Serb side, Milord Dodik, because the US government has already put sanctions on him, but there's been nothing from the EU yet or anyone else. Would you welcome such a move from the European Union?
I would like to see that sanctions, or let me say conditionality, goes ahead. What is conditionality? We have a lot of foreign investment, of international community investment in Bosnia and Herzegovina. That's okay, because we want to improve the capabilities economically of this country, but we cannot accept that just the money is collected, taken in, and used in a way that there is no democratic process, and that the conditions of how to come closer to European Union are not fulfilled. So this is the clear message. Money is not only just for giving it, but just to having not a one-way street, but as well some attitude, behavior, decisions which we may expect and can expect.
You've said in previous interviews that Bosnia should maybe be given a quicker path into the European Union to encourage stability in the country, but there are 14 key priorities the country has to look at to quicken that process as far as the EU is concerned, and it doesn't seem to be making very quick progress. So are you saying that some of this should be ignored in order to get them in quicker? Because the process for many countries trying to get in the EU takes years and years for some of them. So what's your solution to this process if you want to see it happen quicker?
Now I have to switch from my position as High Representative to my position as a not unexperienced German European politician who had a look on this issue years ago already. We talked about in 20 years, 25 years ago, how to bring UK and keep UK in European Union without bringing the need to do everything what the ever closer union means. This was a position together with Wolfgang Schäuble I had. Today I would say, if we want to bring an ever closer approach of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Western Balkan countries to European Union, this will not mean to have full membership at the very first day. But it needs a political commitment and a reassurance that Europe stands with Bosnia Herzegovina in terms of security, in terms of avoiding interference from others abroad, and this in this very case only can be seen as coming from Moscow. Then step by step to deal all with the issues of the so-called acquis communautaire, the complicated legal system of bringing them to market. We have the idea of the European economic market or European economic zone, like Norway, like Switzerland have. So this is a step-by-step approach, but what I see is that we need not a step-by-step approach from the bottom to the top, but we have first to need to make clear for ourselves and for the people in Bosnia and Herzegovina that we want to have them in, and they can feel additional security for their lives and themselves by being part of the integrated structure of Europe. So a step-by-step approach, top-down.
Okay, Christian Schmidt, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.